10 facts about the moon that are impossible to believe. The moon is a celestial body that we constantly see in the sky. It is Earth's only natural satellite and orbits our planet with a period of about 27.3 days. For centuries, the moon has remained an object of interest to scientists, astronomers, and science fiction writers. In this article, I will tell you 10 facts about the moon that seem unbelievable, but which actually have a scientific explanation. The first fact, the moon increases the length of the day on Earth. That may seem unbelievable is that the moon affects the length of the day on Earth. It is known that a day on Earth lasts about 24 hours, but it can actually vary from 23 hours, 59 minutes to 24 hours, 1 minute, depending on the position of the moon. This is due to the gravitational interaction between the Earth and the moon. In doing so, the moon slows down the Earth's rotation around its axis, increasing the length of the day. And this, in turn, causes the moon to move away from the Earth by several centimeters per year. The moon can cause earthquakes. The second fact, which may seem unbelievable, is that the moon can cause earthquakes. This effect is called lunar seismic activity and is related to a change in the magnitude of tidal forces acting on the Earth from the moon, which is caused by the movement of the moon around our planet. In addition, the moon also causes tides, which can amplify earthquakes. The moon has mysterious luminous points. The third incredible fact about the moon is that it has mysterious glowing dots on its surface. These dots are called lunar luminaries, and their origin is still a mystery. Lunar luminaries were first spotted in 1540, and researchers have been trying to solve their mystery ever since. Some scientists speculate that they are meteorites that fell to the surface of the moon and left traces of their explosion. Others think they are gas outcrops from the bowels of the moon. Although the phenomenon has been investigated by many spacecraft, its origin is still a mystery. A flash on the surface of the moon. There is water ice on the moon. The fourth fact is that there is water ice on the moon. Previously, the moon was thought to be a completely dry desert without any form of water. However, in 1994, the Clementine spacecraft traveled to the moon and discovered water ice at its poles. This ice is found in deep craters where sunlight does not penetrate and where permafrost reigns. Its discovery was a great discovery for astronomy and space science in general. The moon influences plant growth. A fifth fact that may seem unbelievable is that the moon affects plant growth. Usually gardeners and farmers claim that planting plants according to the phases of the moon promotes better growth and yields. But this is not really the case. What really affects plant growth is the distance to the moon, which changes as the moon rotates around the Earth. This phenomenon is explained by changes in the gravitational fields, which affect the moisture in the soil and in the plants, making it a little easier to ride. Sixth fact, lunar oscillations, libration. Because of gravitational interactions between the Earth and the moon, the latter experiences what is called lunar wobble. This means that the moon wobbles slightly in different directions during its 27.3-day orbital period around the Earth. Because of this, it turns slightly different parts of its surface toward us. This process makes about 59% of the moon's surface visible to us, although only half of the satellite's surface is visible at any given time, but always slightly different. The seventh fact, lunar rivers and craters there are so-called lunar rivers on the surface of the moon. Labyrinths of narrow and winding canyons, up to 500 km long. Actually, they are not rivers but lava channels formed billions of years ago as a result of volcanic activity. Moreover, there are about 300 zero craters more than 1 km in diameter on the moon. They were formed as a result of meteorite impacts and are one of the main reasons for changes in the lunar landscape. Eighth fact, old and thick. The moon is considered an old and relatively thick object in the solar system. The moon is about 4.5 billion years old at the very dawn of the solar system, making it one of the oldest cosmic bodies. In addition, the moon has a crust thickness of about 30-40 km at a radius of 1737 km. which in relative terms is much thicker than the Earth's crust, which is about 570 km at a radius of 6,371 km. This is due to processes that occurred in the early history of the Moon that led to a slowing of its geological activity and loss of heat. Ninth fact: lunar dust. Lunar dust, or regolith, is a thin layer of dust and gravel that covers the surface of the Moon. It is formed over billions of years by meteorite impacts and the solar wind. Interesting fact: Moon dust has the structure of tiny glass balls in sharp-angled particles, which makes it very corrosive to human equipment and astronauts. Inhaling lunar dust can cause lung disease, and contact with skin can cause irritation. For this reason, astronauts returning from lunar missions had to undergo a thorough cleaning procedure before entering Earth, because the dust penetrated even inside the ship. 10th fact: Lunar City. Projects to colonize the Moon have become increasingly realistic in recent years. Studies have shown the presence of water in the form of ice at the poles of the Moon, which could be a key factor in ensuring human life and establishing a lunar base. There are already proposals to use lunar regolith for building materials, as well as projects for modular lunar homes and stations. Perhaps in the coming decades, we will witness the founding of the first lunar city. Marina Popovich talked to the Apollo 11 astronauts about UFOs and aliens. What did Aldrin and Mitchell say? Buzz Aldrin is a very extraordinary person. He is believed to have been one of the astronauts who visited the Moon. All his life, this man had enjoyed fame. But in the last 10-15 years, he has renounced flying to the Earth satellite. Buzz openly declared at conferences that there were no flights. And when reporters asked questions about the lunar landing, he asked astonishedly, "Have I been to the Moon?" After that, the astronaut disrupted several press conferences, and his representative declined further such events. Soviet pilot Marina Popovich had a lifelong interest in UFOs because she herself had seen flying objects that could not be identified during her years of flying. She was an ardent supporter of the theory that there are tens of thousands of different civilizations in space. In interviews, Marina Lavrentievna sometimes said, "Some of them visit Earth and know about you and me, but for most, we are grains of sand. Their ships are like our planet, so they are not interested in us." Marina Popovich tried to reveal the essence of the UFO phenomenon. Where did such confidence come from? In fact, Marina Popovich loved to spend evenings with other pilots, cosmonauts, submariners, former military men. And her favorite topic was stories about the unknown. For example, during the conversation with Sergei Khrushchevsky, she asked whether he communicated with other cosmonauts about UFOs. It turned out that he talked, and often. The thing is that they could not tell the whole truth to the management. They would be checked for the state of mental health. I don't want to delve into this subject, but to make a long story short, many saw, heard, and even felt something. But that's a separate topic. Once there was a meeting between Marina Popovich and Buzz Aldrin. They talked for quite a long time. And this is what the Soviet pilot said about it in an interview with journalists. "I kept asking him if he had seen something on the Moon or not. You know, related to other civilizations, aliens. He said he saw it. Something kept following them. White disc-shaped objects circled in the sky above the landing site. One of them fired a beam and the whole film was lit up. Did he see any aliens? Buzz replied that you and I were aliens to them." "Who are they?" "He didn't say anything." "Who are they?" "He didn't say anything. He just dropped the subject and that was it. I tried to get more details, but he cut me off." Something was watching the men as they landed on the Moon. In addition to Aldrin, Marina Popovich also met with Edgar Mitchell. Their conversation was shorter, but with him the Soviet pilot also discussed UFO observations. The American astronaut shared his experience. There were flying saucers, bright white in color. They were painful to look at. They were constantly maneuvering and distracting. It was impossible to see the aliens. But 15 years later, an acquaintance from NASA brought me printouts of the Moon surface, and I saw bases, structures camouflaged by the uneven lunar landscape. I asked him what it was, and he said it was a recent discovery, much more interesting than what I saw on Earth. The spherical objects hovered just above the Cape Canaveral a few days before our flight. Already then I realized that on the Moon knew about our intentions. Interesting information, isn't it? Marina Lavrentievna repeatedly told me about these conversations. She believed that the Americans had been to the moon just as all of our cosmonauts believe. Another thing, if the flight took place, what did the Americans actually encounter on the Earth satellite? Could it be that brothers in intelligence dwell there? Or maybe they did until recently? Like it, subscribe to our channel, comment. Many more interesting top films are waiting for you. Enjoy watching.